Hello. Hey, Jay. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Max. Wow, that's a big campus.
This is this is a quality room.
Yeah. Oh, I see the Bay Bridge just now. Wow, that's a fancy room.
Yeah,
I know
this
exactly
one.
where you are.
Oh no, my location's been revealed. Don't let the paparazzi know.
Yeah.
Mum's the word. Uh, yeah, no, this one has windows. I like it.
I'm surprised that's not like in demand room.
It may very well be. You know, I don't know what the meeting room economy looks like. And I seem to just be assigned random rooms every week. But this time I won.
Oh, you don't pick a room, it's just automatic?
Yeah, I can like try to, I guess, like explicitly ask for a room if it isn't taken. Sometimes there's like a system that automatically like bin packs things though. And I'm not sure. Like I haven't bothered to look if I can like turn that off or anything. It is kind of annoying not to know like which room I'm in from week to week or meeting to meeting.
You need to
Uh,
find the room every time. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, maybe good. Not take up a big old conference room every time, I guess, or whatever. How's your week?
Good. I was out sick um on Monday. I caught a cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that's a good week for you, you're saying?
No. It's not fun. I don't get sick that often. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello.
hey, Rita.
Hey. Hey, let me write. You know what's on my mind?
Do I? I've been like,
Actually, yeah, you probably don't, but Jay does.
oh,
So basically all the VAP flavors for PSP in our library, and Jay has reminded us that the current library generation process doesn't actually make it easy for Cell.
yeah.
So, oops, forgot about that one.
Yeah, I think we discussed that before. We need
Oh,
to
okay.
change
Maybe
the
I
process.
wasn't. I wasn't here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you were not there. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we documented the stuff in the issue, but I'm not sure if we talked about the generation process.
Yeah, I remember definitely saying this is something that needs to happen. I don't think we ever like
Okay,
did any kind of like concrete
okay.
steps to making it happen.
Jay, do you have enough for us to look at for next steps or not yet?
So I have how you can add the cell, like the steps to add the cell code in the generation process. I was looking at how to write tests for the cell code to test it and actually make sure it is. So there is no way to do
No
so.
tests like
Oh
the
no,
I do.
Gator validate or Gator test. I'm forgetting which one it was, but that we should just always presume Gator as much as we can for validation, and that like completely de-risks language, right? If we want to move on to some other language in the future.
Well, I think maybe Jay meant the source file today.
Yeah.
It gets there's
There's no unit test equivalent for.
yeah, so there's no
test.
unit test for
Yeah, we cannot use it.
that I'm aware.
Yeah, to Max's point, we can test with Gator, but not like the one like we do for Rego.
Okay. So with Gator, it be just like the Rego where we have template, we have constraint, and we make sure there are assertions of error or not.
Yeah, I mean we do that today with the Rego already. So Rego also has an additional unit test for the Rego itself.
Yeah.
So Rego has that's like one more step of testing basically.
Yeah.
But if you have the Gator equivalent, both the test and validate, that I think that should cover our use cases.
Okay. And so for Getter, do we need to do anything else other than adding the lab annotation to constraint template and constraint to use the VAP side of things?
For Gator, you wouldn't need any kind of annotation. The annotation's just gate generation. The thing with Gator right now is that there is a flag that you need to set. It's like experimental enable VAP or whatever the flag was. In order to load the VAP cell engine. And that will, if the VAP cell engine is activated, that will be the higher priority engine, right? So if a constraint template has both Rego and cell in it, and that flag is set, the cell is the thing that will be tested with Gator validate. Probably this will bite us, particularly if we ever have like 3 languages. Like right now, we could just run Gator validate twice, once with the flag, once without, and that will test both flavors. But at some point, like Gator honestly wasn't designed with multi-engine, multi-target in mind, right? And so the CLI UX bit would be a little rough there, which is fine, right? Like either we sort of deprecate Gator and replace it with something else long term, or we figure out how to evolve the CLI. In the short term, we just need to, if we ever get rid of that experimental flag, we need to figure out some sort of flag that lets us control which engine is invoked.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like if you had another engine, say like the LLM one, right? How do we say which one gets triggered? Yeah, I don't think we thought about that behavior.
Yeah. And it, like, honestly, I think from a constraint framework perspective, it's probably the enforcement point author who is best positioned to know which language is best suited, right, for that particular enforcement point. So like I think it should be an ingrained thing in Gatekeeper. Sorry, make generate will take care of it afterwards. All right. But you know, that doesn't help us for things like testing. Where was I going with
I
this?
think to start, just do what you said, right? Like, just have it go against one engine just for a CI/CD. And then
I
we
don't think
can
we have a blocker today. In the
Right.
future, we might, but yeah.
right. For Gator to be able to handle multiple engine, we can figure that out later.
Yeah, and maybe you could also put like an engine priority preference on the template itself.
You mean the
Right,
order?
because- Yeah. Like, so if engine, try this engine first. If it doesn't exist, use this next. Yeah.
Right. Again, not a blocker for this because I want to make sure we have something soon.
Yeah.
Because when we make the announcement next week, I want to make sure we have stuff in the library.
Yeah. Well, I have that.
No, that doesn't count. It's a draft PR, not even a PR.
And then the generation doesn't make sense, right? Because that's Kubernetes doing the work. So we'll only be able to test the
Right.
the gatekeeper built-in cell engine.
I don't think you need to test generation in the
Yeah,
library.
because that requires Kubernetes.
We test that in Gatekeeper, so.
Right.
There is a flow we're running right now where we actually spin up a gatekeeper cluster in a Kubernetes cluster in the gatekeeper library.
Mhm.
So we could test generation, but
No, I mean, as in like the Gator itself.
not with Gator. No.
Yeah, Gator just doesn't make sense with the cell, the VAP generation, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's nothing you would call like if we wanted to do something, we could, right? Like run it next to a cluster and try to apply it. I would really want to see some kind of like user story around that before we put in the effort. So theoretically, yes, but why? Kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, let's keep it out of scope. At least for now. If somebody asks, we can think about that.
Okay, so we talked about the test stuff. The next question is, which is what we were discussing in Slack, is today by default, the enable VAP engine thing is off, right? So when we add these new policies to the library, by default, it wouldn't work on Gatekeeper. So are we okay with?
No, it'll work.
Yeah.
It'll run the Rego.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think it will at least error out though.
This is what we discussed before. It's in the PR. I think Max linked the PR that added the multi-engine support. So if the cell thing is not enabled, it should just pick up the Rego. If there's cell, then it'll prioritize on that one. And
So
I think Max said it got added in 3.12 or something like that. So it's been there for a while.
Okay, okay. Maybe because I was testing without Rego. Okay, maybe that's why.
That's
oh yeah, if you have no
Yes,
Rego
that's
and you
probably
have no
why.
VAP.
we also
Yeah.
talked about this before.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, because I remember seeing an error that says like, oh, you don't have an engine that it recognizes, so that makes sense.
Yeah, we definitely talked about this in a previous meeting.
But I wasn't here.
No, this you were here. You asked the same question.
I did?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, you're talking about if you have no Rego in the constraint template.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a. Oh, was it?
I didn't ask this before.
Like 80% sure. Anyway, it's fine. Yeah. So I think that'll work as long as there's a Rego and stuff.
Okay, then do we wanna bump everything to V2? Or whatever?
I don't think it's necessary, and
Don't?
it's necessary if we ever remove the Rego. It's not necessary if we're adding cell,
Okay.
unless there is like a logical incompatibility, which, hopefully there isn't, right? I there's a little bit of gray area there where do you need to have 100% overlap in terms of like the error strings, or do you just need to have overlap in terms of rejected versus not rejected? Right. I would argue it's fine to have slightly different error strings. Like I don't necessarily want to call the actual violation text part of the contract. If we wanted to do something like that, honestly, the error data stuff. You know how there's this optional, you can pass a message and you can also pass a data struct, right? Or JSON object. That would be the thing that I would say is part of the constraint contract. That if you change it, you
I
in a
think
backwards
one caveat here is for the versioning, if we just do patch version +1, or sorry, minor +1, then
Mhm.
it might be hard for us to make a statement that says like, oh, if you want to use cell enabled policies, like use like version 2 of everybody.
Well, I would say if you want to use cell policies, use a constraint template that has cell in it. You know,
I know, but it's harder to know which version started, which minor started it, right?
I mean, some are already in 2,
Oh, really? Okay.
so I
Yeah,
don't think
wouldn't
that's
there-
like a definitive statement.
Which one is already 2?
I think.
Anyway,
And then
Like-
also one question, say tomorrow in 3, whatever, we enabled cell by default. So what happens to the library? Like if we don't bump the version and then folks are installing from the library from like a specific version, thinking that, hey, this is pinned. Now their behavior will change from Rego to cell.
So there. Sorry, if we're in a version of the library where there's only Rego source, it's moot, right? Like,
Right.
if there's only Rego will be executed.
This is both with Rego and cell. And then in the
If-
future, we change cell to be enabled by default.
yeah.
I'm getting a little lost because I think you're talking about in the gatekeeper, the binary, change it to have that enabled.
That's right.
Okay, because you also seem to suggest, well, it's Rego and cell, but in the future, because in the future, we're still thinking Rego and cell, at least in the near future.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, so in the library, so in the future, like say a year from now, whatever, right? The all the library policies contain both Rego and cell, right? And then user upgrades from a gatekeeper that did not have cell enabled by default to a gatekeeper that did have cell enabled by default. So it is going to prioritize the cell policy. So now their behavior will change from Rego to cell.
Without
Well,
them
the
knowing,
underlying code will change. So good.
the key is without them knowing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is that a feature or a bug? Right. Like is my assumption for a constraint template that has multiple copies of the logic in different source codes, right? Like you have a Rego implementation, you have a cell implementation, whatever, is that every copy should be the functional equivalent of each other copy, right? Like if you run HTML parser in JavaScript versus Golang versus Python, you should still parse the same HTML, right? Kind of that sort of idea.
But I think that's in the ideal world, right? Say, let's say the cell Rego, sorry, the cell policy had a bug. So it's not functionally equivalent to the Rego.
Well, that's a bug, right? Like that can just happen at any point.
But I think the difference is that this will happen under the user without them knowing.
That happens anytime they upgrade Gatekeeper, right? Like we upgrade Gatekeeper, we're ingesting a new version of Rego. You run the risk that there's been an error in OPA that changes the behavior of how OPA is evaluated, right? Or maybe the order of evaluation. right? They changed their compiler optimizer.
Right.
So
But what I'm saying is that we can easily like change this behavior by just bumping the a version. Like we can just bump a minor version or something. We don't have to bump a major version.
change which behavior and version
Say-
of what?
Say 100 policy to 110.
I mean, we can bump the minor version of the constraint template. Sure.
Yeah.
My point is it shouldn't be considered a breaking change. But I think that there is a bit of a caveat to that where I'm explicitly calling out the contents of the violation string as not being part of the behavioral contract. Because I don't think it's possible. Like cell is just much more expressively sparse than Rego. So you're necessarily gonna get different shaped strings than what we've chosen to do with Rego, just because you could do less.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. We can add it to the docs, like a warning or something. Don't parse the output or something like that.
Yeah. Again, I would consider that data return to be part of the contract because that was always intended to be machine readable. I don't know if anyone really
I
leverages
think
that.
I would
But-
I would actually expect that to be a part of the contract, because people will consume it and parse it and do stuff with it, right?
The violation string
now
or data?
The
Or-
violation strings. They could.
They could versus should though, right? Like there is a risk that if we've underspecified the contract, right? And so we cannot plausibly make that change and justify it, then yeah, we should probably like bump the minor version or figure out how to like change your backwards compatibility contract moving forward or whatever, in conjunction to bumping the major version so that, people know that that's happening. But once there's an understanding of what should be relied on and what isn't, right? And once it's explicit, in my view, that's the important thing, right? Like the thing we want to prevent is users relying on something that is reasonable to rely on being stable and breaking them after they've done so, right? If we explicitly say, hey, we need you not to rely on this because we cannot provide it reliably, kind of like what we say with, we'll do our best with Rego, but we're subject to Rego itself, right? Like we can't provide backwards compatibility to the language. At that point, it's just kind of like a known risk. Very good.
Sure. Based on our definition of versioning, we said minor version bump is required for backward compatibility change in the policy, example, adding a parameter, updating Rego logic. So in this case, okay, also this makes me think like now anytime you change the Rego logic or cell, now you have to bump the minor. It's actually not one of them. It's like anytime you change one of them, you have to bump. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
What was a patch version, if any change to the
Patches, just like say if you update the policy metadata, simple Rego fix.
that's a change to the Rego logic. So there's some clear lack of specificity in our language there.
Yeah. Well, it says whenever there's a simple backward compatible change.
Yeah, I know there and this is one of those problems where at the time when we were writing it, everyone's like, oh, come on, we all know what's a patch versus like a minor version. It's like, no, you really need to like be explicit because yeah.
Yeah, like it is a typo, a simple fix, but what happens if does that change the contract?
The thing typo is a patch. basically.
But that does change the contract.
That changes the message string, I think
Right.
is
Yeah, that's what I'm
Sukesh's-
saying,
Yeah.
because we said that the message is part of the contract, but if that changes the contract,
Right.
that's not a patch version.
Well, also, I just want to clarify, so far, we don't have any major bumps, right? Everybody's
We
still
have a
on
couple.
one dot something.
No, I think some of them are two.
I don't see a 2 dot something.
You didn't? Okay, let me see.
I mean, I didn't go through all of them. I only went through the PSPs. And
There's some non-PSP one that
is it
got
actually
bumped.
2.0? I mean, two something?
There's one that has a version suffix at least. I can't remember which one, but it
Oh, the
it
SC
has
Linux
happened.
has a thing V2
Huh?
just in the name. SC Linux, I think it's called like V2.
SC Linux, okay.
But I think we also have one that's just the metadata in V2 too. Let me see.
SC Linux.
Where did we put these?
What?
Where are the versions? Oh, no, never mind. It's in them. One sec.
I don't see it though.
Um,
Anyway, so then so I guess it's just gonna automatically work. People are just gonna automatically get that stuff.
Yeah, the question is
Mm.
just like what amount of spread is tolerable in behavior, right? Like I take it as a given that if there's any input for which the decision itself would have changed, right? Like reject versus not reject, that is a breaking change, 100%,
Mhm.
right? I personally still would try to like cut the violation text out of that contract. Right? I don't think we can like arbitrarily do that though. Like if it was actually part of our contract, we can't just like remove it post facto. That's not how that works. But you know, if it's justifiable that people shouldn't have been relying on the validation string, then we shouldn't make things harder on ourselves by, you know, adopting that strict of a standard. If they have, then we need to, one, change the contract, I would say, rolling forward, and two, figure out how to do that.
Okay, and then and also going forward, we will have to have both. Whenever
Yes.
someone adds a new one or makes a bug change, they have to do it for both.
Well,
What
I
happens-
think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
What happens if a contributor only updates one of them?
If there is a parallel implementation, the logic needs to remain consistent across them. That doesn't necessarily mean that every change needs to affect both languages, right? If someone refactors the rego to like remove lint errors, but the behavior is otherwise unchanged, there's no reason to touch cell, right? Because they're still logically parallel. If there is a change in how the constraint template works, right? Like they're adding a parameter or something like that, then yeah, both would need to be updated to accommodate that parameter. I also imagine that this is a transitional period. Like I think long term, we don't want to support two languages when one would do, right? This is just a transitional period to minimize the impact for users, right? So that they're not forced to immediately upgrade to a version of Gatekeeper that supports Cell or whatever. But once, you know, we're a couple versions down the line, right, and we're comfortable doing so, we can phase out Rego from those templates where there's a cell equivalent implementation. And that would be a major version change, in my view.
Yeah, I don't know what would be the requirement for or prerequisites for retiring Rego.
So one, there would need to be a cell implementation, just kind of obviously, because otherwise you're just deleting the template. But two, the cell engine versions of Gatekeeper that support the cell engine by default must have high exposure, right? Like if there's like users that are on an old version of Gatekeeper that has, you know, not been supported for a year, I don't think it's reasonable to like make sure that all new versions of the library still support them. Right. That just may not be true, even if there's like new language built-ins for Rego, right? That we need to leverage. I also don't think we necessarily want to go, well, okay, we introduced cell enabled by default in Gatekeeper version 20, you know, and now it's Gatekeeper version 22, and we say our backwards compatibility or supportability policy is like the previous two versions or whatever it is. So hard cut, we're clear, right? Like we don't have to be that dogmatic about it, but you know, we can feel out. It should be the bare minimum is that cell a supported version of Gatekeeper with cell as the default should be like at the oldest possible support horizon, if that makes sense. Like if we support the last two versions, n-2 must have cell enabled by default. And then probably we want to feel out beyond that what makes sense.
Yeah, we should probably make sure we share this idea with the Star folks.
Yeah, I mean, are they going to be enthusiastic about any kind of phasing out of Rego? Like, it's not that we're removing the language from Gatekeeper, like, definitely not that, but
Yeah,
you know,
but I feel like it might be good to make sure they know this is coming, right?
how would it affect them? Like, what would they need to know about it for?
I mean it's called OPA Gatekeeper Library, right?
I guess.
Anyway, we could talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to support two languages indefinitely just because of what name is on the headline of anything. You
Yeah,
know?
I get you. But I also think it's a potentially a point of contention that we should probably address early on and not deal with drama later.
Should we ask them to join the next call? We can discuss this.
Yeah, we can. But I mean that's like for whenever we talk about deprecation, but this shouldn't impact what we need to do today, which is just add the
Right.
cell.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I wouldn't like add more drama to like right now when all we're trying to do is just get the thing off the ground. Like we're already aligned that needs to happen, right? Because VAP is in Kubernetes and that's like just existential.
Yep.
We're not going to not support VAP.
Yeah.
In my view, the fact that we're there, that already puts us on the train of some constrained templates won't have Rego in them.
Mhm.
like, that's just like causality, right? There's no universe where that doesn't happen. So that's why I'm like, I don't know why we would let them know either way. Versus it's not like, some like exceptional,
Well, all,
unpredictable,
to
unforeseeable thing.
clarify, I'm saying we should talk to them about the deprecation. That's all, not about right now. I'm saying for the conversation about deprecation, let's make sure they're aware of it.
Yeah, not related to library or anything else. More like future changes.
Sorry, not related to library. You mean not related to current library changes?
Yeah, not related to current library, whatever we're discussing now, but future like changes for Rego.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still of the personal view it's not necessary, but we can. It just,
I mean, so it just they would get a heads up about it, and they are not surprised tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just like if they would say, I don't know, make a backwards incompatible change, and then we would have to like to rush to change our regos.
the difference is there's no action item for them here. Like there's
You can't say
nothing.
users that are using the regos with Gatekeeper, for example, they might be surprised. So like people that depend on them for any reason.
Yeah, I don't suspect that's a reality, but yeah, we can.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to give
Let
them
them
a just
know.
heads up. Yeah, I think that's just.
So it's SC Linux v2 has been v2 for a long time.
Yeah, I think we fixed that because that change was backwards incompatible. We just made a v2 thing. I don't know where do we want v1 when. I think that was just never right, so maybe we deleted that. I don't even know.
Or maybe, I mean, I'm using git blame to see where that came.
Yeah, this also moved from the Gatekeeper to the library repo, so it's not
Yeah.
straight.
Oh wow, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's a deep
V2,
cut.
what happened to V1?
But I think v1 was never right. So I think there was a problem with v1, so we went with the v2.
I know, but then that's
Why
fine.
didn't we
But
keep
then you
V1 and
assume there's a
saying this is
V1.
broken? Yeah.
Yeah.
You assume somewhere on the internet.
I mean, you can look at the initial commit when we moved over. Let me see. I had it.
Anyway, maybe it's. Okay, so are we all good with the generation of that templates? Is there anything else we haven't discussed?
We know we need to do it, and we know that we need to test them. I don't know if we've
Right.
discussed mechanisms, but or
I think
who's
Jay has a
going to.
doc that he's writing to describe all the changes. So let's help him get that across the finishing line, hopefully within the next couple days. Meanwhile, the rest of us, should we just divide and conquer? I know, I took a look at your draft PR. I think it looks good to me. We should just start.
Yeah, the one heads up I would give with regard to the draft PR is I'm using .has a lot, and apparently there is a question mark operator in cell that VAP has enabled. So you may want to try that one. I can't remember off the top of my head where the documentation for how that operator works lives, but it's basically a get if exist thing. And after chaining a bunch of them, you can check to see if you actually got a real value versus like a missing value placeholder thing. So it might simplify your work if you want to try using that.
Oh, so you push something?
No, I didn't push anything. This is just something I found out after like looking at some cell stuff earlier
Okay.
this week. Like it's not in the cell spec documentation.
Okay.
It's elsewhere, so that's why I wasn't like aware of it.
Oh, weird. Why do they not want people to know?
It's not that it's like hidden, it's just, open source and documentation. It's a thing that needs to be explicitly enabled too, so that's why it's not like part of the cell spec proper.
I see.
And
Can you push a commit then? I just want to see it.
yeah, I could try. It'll take a little bit because I need to like find the documentation. and
Okay,
figure
okay,
out
no,
how
no
to
worries.
use it.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want you guys to like
Be surprised.
copy my thing. What's that?
You didn't want to what?
I didn't want you guys to like just copy my thing. If there was like an easier thing that you would
I
prefer
see.
using. The has stuff works. So
Right.
there's no reason not to copy it. But if you wanted a simpler pattern.
Okay. All right. Well, again, should we just divide and conquer? I was just gonna go down the list and take like, from last time, I think we said we could divide it, right? Between the three of us.
Yeah, these will all be placeholder PRs, right? Until JDIP
Yeah, totally.
implements some
For
kind
now,
of. Okay.
yeah, because I think we could work in parallel. No reason why we can't.
Right, we just take our logic and split it out of the
Yeah.
template.
So
Yeah.
you did the allow privilege escalation. That's the first one. Did you want to take? Which one you want to take?
Doesn't matter to me. Just divvy them up numbers wise, I guess. Seems fair or whatever.
Yeah, there's 16.
Okay.
Jay,
Go
do you
ahead.
just want to divide these ones? Just put them in like an Excel sheet or something and then assign names?
Yeah, I mean, I can take for, the thing is, like, if we are not gonna do anything about test, or there is no way to do any tests for cell expression, I don't think there needs to be anything else that is needed in order for generation, like build and website generation, because uh, there are only these 3 steps that I listed in the document that is needed to add the cell to the source, and then getter with the flag and without flag shouldn't take much time to test it with the constraint on the template itself, right? So I don't think we need to spend more time in this design doc.
Yeah, like this should be mostly invisible to users, right? Unless you care about the contents of the template versus like the parameters that can be passed to the template and its behavior.
Well, I think we need to update test like the bats test to enable the flag and validate that it returned the right.
Yeah.
Right? So that part is the test that we will still need to run.
Okay.
You're
Yeah,
talking the
need a
gator
matrix
bats?
of
The
tests.
E the test bats here.
There's 2 tests. There's tests that are running Gator, and there's tests that spins up a K8s cluster and applies resources. Which one?
I'm talking about the test bats, the one that goes against the cluster.
Okay. And do you want that to use VAP generation, or you just want that to use the VAP engine,
I think we
or
need
do you want
both,
to keep it Rego?
right?
Honestly, I don't.
Well, you need to
The Gator.
test both.
I mean, these tests are gonna run a long time.
Yeah.
Like the Gator stuff is like fast, right? Like if we want to keep running the cluster end-to-end test, just so we're taking into account things like defaulting and stuff. That makes sense. I don't know if we would need to test it against more than one language under the theory that Gator is the thing that we use for validating behavioral equivalency as much as is reasonable. And so if it works as a whole with cluster end-to-end testing, and it works for VAP and it works for Rego with Gator tests, that should be enough. Right? And that way we're not like double running the most expensive tests.
Oh, I don't think we need to double run it. I mean, it'll just be matrix, so it will be in parallel. So it shouldn't add any time.
Like if you want to find, I think we're over testing, to be blunt. Like if it's easy, whatever. But I wouldn't.
I mean, it should be easy. I think we can just reuse our existing logic. Just one with cell, one with Rego, that's it.
This is it. If you want to do, I'm not going to prevent anyone from doing more than is safe, as long as the cost isn't like high. I just don't think it's necessary.
Okay. Well, let's
where do we test the
try it.
Gator ones? I don't see that one.
Let's try it and see how it goes.
Do we not test with Gator today?
Oh, we do. There's Sweet YAML has it. In Sweet YAML file, it runs Gator verify, I think.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's the sweet.
That's
yeah,
the missing piece, yeah.
So we don't do the Gator test then. I think we just do the Gator validate.
We can't do like Gator test. You need, can we?
I think we can. Let me see. Gator.
But for Gator
We
test,
do-
don't you
we
need the?
do-
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
We do have one action in the pipeline called getter verify, where we run make verify getter dockerized under the workflow. So we run getter test there, I think.
Gator. Yeah, that's the Gator verify. Verify Gator dockerized.
Yeah, but the Sweet, each one of the policies have a Sweet YAML file, right? And that one is tested with Gator.
That's right.
So I'll give you an example.
I think we can keep this one. I was just curious if we are doing Gator test.
Yeah,
sounds
we
like-
are.
No, I think we're just doing Gator verify. They're like two different.
Oh, yeah.
Not Gator test as in test for Gator. Gator
I
test.
know, but right, I get what you're saying. Do we, I guess, do we need Gator test? Like, if we're not already doing it, why are we?
No, I think the suite is fine because with suite we define what our expectations are, which is basically the same thing with the
Okay.
Gator test. I don't think we need
Right,
to test.
and then if we have the E to E, we definitely don't need Gator test.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So for Gator verify, do we need to update anything or are we good? Let me see.
Right now we have the experimental enable VAP flag. So Gator, the CLI
I see.
is sufficient, but we should be mindful if we ever remove that flag, which we probably want to remove that flag.
mhm.
And it looks like in the assertions, we only check violations, yes or no.
For verify,
For verify, yeah.
that is accurate. We probably should do a better job there, but
But it makes our job easier this
Oh,
time.
wait. Some of them have message. Yeah, so some of them have message. So I don't think we are in luck here. So like this one is a seccomp one that is
Uh-oh.
very specific. So we'll need to change these things.
Oh, where do you see this being tested?
This is on the seccomp. I'll drop this
Oh,
one.
okay.
So the suite will, if it doesn't get this message,
Oh,
It's-
darn it.
yeah. So if we didn't have this one, we would have been good. I mean, we can remove this line. I think it
Who
sounds like
added
we have to
this?
remove it.
Who added this? Just
tested why it got rejected as opposed to whether it got rejected.
But
No,
I
that's
think there's only a few of these ones. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
go through the entire list, but just looking at it.
Yeah, part of the reason why you want to test the why rather than whether is that like runtime errors can also lead to rejection. And you kind of want to be sure that you're rejecting for an expected reason.
I think this is the only one.
Then that will make
Yeah.
our testing harder because they're not gonna have the same messages.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we can check for the message.
Most of the time we probably could. I'm not saying we must do this as part of the migration, to be clear. But the checking for messages, you can do like prefix checking. It's not like
Oh,
a strict
okay.
substring or strict full string. I
Or
don't think.
contains or something.
Oh, like it contains, yeah, that's okay. As long as we're kind of consistent.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
So do we want to add that in every test, or do we want to like for seccomp, do we want to
Maybe
make a selection?
later.
I say minimum, no.
Let's add it
If-
later. Let's add it as a like add an issue. We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
But for this round, just keep it as is.
But for seccomp, we have to remove this line
For
then.
seccomp, we have to do like
So I think-
substring, right?
Minimum expectation is no deltas to the suite.yaml. I think you could get away with the test as written across the board, right? Like the only risk there being if there's a string test that truly is not supportable in VAP, right? In which case, maybe the string test needs to be rewritten. So let's see, what does the seccomp one look like?
It's just the whole message.
Is this the PSP SE Linux one?
Yes.
No, this is the
Seccomp. It's
seccomp.
linked in Sertaj linked it in the chat.
Oh, sorry, because I'm running the chat on the GVC. I can't see the chat.
Oh.
But let's see. Pod security policy, seccomp. Suites.
Kind of weird that only this one has this one, like the message. Why?
Oh, wow, yeah, that message is will be a little bit tricky to. I'm pretty sure you could rewrite that to be like a similar message stack. If not, that's a feature we should add at some point to validate. Yeah, the way this is constructed, I'm not sure Cell is powerful enough to do that kind of like association between variables, to be honest. I tell sweet, yeah, right. Gator.
Change the string. What do you mean?
Was this?
And what do you mean by change the string?
Somebody changed the string of the message.
The string assertion in the suite.yaml. Like if you could just like test against a prefix or something. Let's see if that's possible.
By the way, you added this, Max, I think. Let me see.
Because I was like, you should know
Yes.
why something failed.
Yeah, you did. I did get blame. Why did you add it to only this one though?
Because the other, I think what originally happened was, if I remember right, Will Beeson like wrote the suite.yaml, like basically all of verify, right? And just like added simple verify test to everything. And this seccomp one, seccomp v2 probably was done after Gator already existed. And so I was like, okay, let's actually like write a robust assertion or as robust an assertion as makes sense.
But you added part of all the suites at the same time. Sorry, second half of the suites.
Oh, message is a regular expression. You're good.
Oh, okay.
You
So
can-
we just need to make it vague. Okay, cool.
Yeah. As long as you can.
This is in their Gator code, right?
Yes,
Okay,
the suite.yaml, like, in the gatekeeper repo, package gator verify
Okay, got it,
assertion.go. So,
okay, so we're good then. All right,
I added to the meeting notes, change to regex for message string check.
okay. What did we decide on? the-
oh, you will need to apparently, there's a, what? Okay, I'm a oh, that's a private variable. Okay, sorry, there's a message regex variable, and I was like, wait, so do you need to change the field use? But no, I think it's just how it's like compiling. Never mind.
So since there are 16, I'm just gonna make a suggestion that Max, you do the first 4, I'll do the second 4, Sertash can do the third 4, and Jay can do the fourth 4.
Where
Let's
my 4 includes the one that's already
The
been.
one you already did, yeah.
Yes, you-
Okay.
3 more.
Huh?
3 more.
Why? Oh yeah, 3 more. Let's just start there, and then if anybody has extra cycle, they can jump in and help others. How's that?
JR, can you create a spreadsheet with these just so everybody knows which 4?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the library. You just look
I'm
at
definitely gonna forget mine.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's accurate. Like, who was assigned what? Yeah. That's
I-
what's gonna happen
It's
for
a
me
it's
is
a
I'm gonna.
list. You just count. Come on. The list is static.
Where is the list living right now, though?
It's just on the library under PSP. It's literally just
Oh, like just sort by alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Use the directories.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
think just
okay.
put it in an Excel spreadsheet so it's clear and then we
Okay,
know
okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah, who was number 1 again? How and yeah.
You did the first one.
Well, I
Max.
did. Did I do the alphabetically first
Yeah,
one?
I
though?
think so.
Okay.
Well, you happen to do the allow privilege escalation. So
No, the first one is not allowed, is it?
the first one is introduction.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about the table. See that we're not even.
No, just go to Gatekeeper Library and then expand PSP. That's the list.
Yeah, so that is alphabetical, but the other table is not alphabetical. Like I dropped the link.
I understand, and I'm saying use the alphabetical thing.
For every second this conversation lasts, my confidence that just do it alphabetically
Definitely not.
goes
Yeah,
down.
that's why I want the list.
Alrighty. Okay, anything else?
So
We're
just
at
to
time.
verify,
Huh?
in terms of test, we need to do 2 things, right? Like one is make sure run getter verify, and the other one is to include the same in beds testing to test it on cluster, right? Those 2 things.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And then for the bats test in the GitHub actions that triggered the test, we need to make that a matrix check.
Yeah.
In the matrix, we'll set an environment variable, one to set up the experimental blah blah flag, and then one to not.
Yeah.
And it'll basically just use the same code, nothing changes, it just executes differently.
Yep.
And then future us will figure out when there's a third engine, what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, also the website. The website today has template and examples, so now we need to double that.
I forgot about the website.
I know.
Why would we need to double it? Like the same constraints would work for cell
But
policy.
the template is the CT, right? And then the examples are, I guess
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any website changes. Yeah.
wait,
The contents of the website will change, but that will just happen automatically, right? Because we're just bundling in the template
I think so.
wholesale.
no, but the template is the regular one, not now we
No, no,
have,
the template will be automatically constructed from the source rego and source cell. I think Jay,
I
you
might be
also will
losing
need
my
to add the placeholder to the website.
You what?
I'm getting evicted.
Oh, okay.
I'll see you guys later.
Hi, and you're saying the examples don't need to change?
No.
No, I think
Oh.
Jay is already adding the placeholder in the examples.
Okay, okay. Then,
So as long as we
that's
have the
better
same
than I
placeholder
thought.
in the website, it'll automatically work. And I
Okay.
think it should automatically update to artifact up too. So
I see,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we won't know until the PR is there. Okay, all right, thank you.
Cool.
Bye, bye.
Right.
Bye.